Welcome to the world of stand-up. So, dude, I just wanted to say, you don't do these very much.
No, actually, I've made a commitment subconsciously for some reason.
Sure.
Not consciously, but subconsciously to not really do these.
Well, I got to tell you, like, it has been a roping scenario trying to get you and your tall drink of water ass in that chair with the cameras on.
Yeah, it's been
And it's beautiful
months.
that you're here. It's amazing.
We actually are doing it.
We are doing this.
We're doing it, yeah.
I mean, I was like, you would call me up and be like, sorry, I'm hanging out with Mike Tyson right now. I can't do that point. And I'm like,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it's stupid excuses.
Say hi to Mike for me. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. What a darling guy.
I
by
bet,
the way.
dude.
Yeah.
When I hear the people that you're rubbing elbows with, I'm like, that is...
Thanks.
Okay, so when you're around...
Hey, can we rub some elbows?
Hell yeah, dude. Mine's circumcised, so it's a little cleaner.
Mine's not circumcised, so.
And you've got a bandage on it still, so that's...
Yeah, well.
So this is something I'm curious, because you have been around a lot of celebrity. I won't say plural as an individual, but like you've been in like the realm of celebrity where you're working with people that have followings and that are known and influential and things like that.
I see what you mean. Mm-hmm.
What is one of the things that you've noticed that normal people wouldn't guess about celebrity?
Yeah, I think you really nailed it without even nailing it, which is they're super normal people, and they deal with some real problems of doubt and insecurity. And when the cameras aren't rolling, there's a lot of deeply considered, am I doing this okay? Am I all right? Imagine, imagine you just with 3 more zeros on your listeners,
right,
and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I loved...
Pressure's more? The
pressure's on, yeah. I mean, there's a spotlight on you. There's more consideration about what you're going to say, how you say it. Oh, he looks like he's in a bad mood, or wow, he really fucked that one up today. Yeah. But otherwise, there's a lot of just simple, having steaks with Mike Tyson, in between shooting. We're just shooting the shit on the most random things. And
it seems like he has a really wide knowledge base for being a prize fighter is his career,
Yeah, dude, he is a sage, emotional, sensitive thinker. And seeing that, people say that that boxing is a thinking man's sport.
Yeah.
And I really got that from him. He used boxing to express his primal anger and that ferociousness that he possesses. But his thinking is what got him to the top, not just his physical form, which is a really cool thing. So to answer your question about celebrity, it's funny when you even ask that, because I don't even think about that, even though I love being around these names and I love being able to serve them. And it's exciting to me. I'm committed to getting wisdom extracted from people. For the last 10 years, I've been a guy who does films or music that is focused on extracting wisdom and creating transformational media. I don't do any fiction. I've never done a Hollywood film. I don't do e-commerce videos. Like, I'm very niched down into looking at someone and extracting their story on a transformational posture. And so when I'm in the spirit of that, the container is always in this collective, like, how can we serve the people we're making this content for? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even though I'm with them, we're not like partying like rock stars trying to make some sort of comedy movie that gets picked up at the award season. It's like, we really want to make something that helps someone overcome doubt or insecurity or think about themselves with a more honest view. Now, I still like partying like a rock star in Tulum. I wish I was there right now.
And weren't you just there like last week?
Oh my gosh, dude. Holy shit, bro. Have you been?
I haven't been to Tulum. No, not yet.
I'll take you.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as you show up like that dude.
I can bring my naked self to Tulum. Abs popping and, Trap City. It'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
There's like a name for guys like us who go out there.
Okay.
Guys like
Gringo?
us, and no. For guys like us, meaning people that are confident and that are not airy-fairy, kind of effeminate, like just flowing around. I'm a digital nomad with, I'm just trying to live my best life. Like men who go out there who are like, hey, dude, like we're real men.
Right.
They call them Tulum daddies.
Okay.
And you look, even right now, like you would fit that very well.
It's probably because I would.
Because you are.
Yeah.
I see it in you.
See, you bring up an interesting point about identity.
Oh, really?
There are things underneath the surface that are a part of my identity that I'm not even aware of, and that is true for every single individual.
I like your identity, dude.
Thank you.
Because we've hung out a few times.
Yeah, dude. I consider you a friend.
Yeah, like we have this banter every time we're around each other. Like, oh, hey.
Yeah. We go to that level. You and I have an extra gear, and it just it goes well. I love it.
Yeah. Did you see that? I just licked my lips while
I did.
You were talking about
that a Tulum daddy
subconsciously? I don't think so. But someone brought up recently, because I'm a single guy. Someone got up recently. They're like, when you're talking to a girl, don't lick your lips. And when I'm talking, I lick my lips all the time. I was like, oh my gosh, have I?
What do you like, LL Cool J and shit? Like,
yeah. What's up, babe? Yo.
I need an around the way girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I need some chapstick, bro.
Exactly. So I've been more present to my own bodily mannerisms, you know, because have you studied a whole lot of I'm sure you've studied the subconscious and maybe hypnosis or maybe the ways that we expose ourselves with language
Tells,
that isn't. Yeah. Have you
Physical
studied
tells.
that much?
Not from like a body language aspect. I've invested a lot of time and resource into this training program called Upgrade. It's ran by William Lamb, and there's a couple of other really powerful individuals. I've talked about it a lot on this podcast, and it's subconscious mental programming.
Yeah,
where you basically, our subconscious is a deep well where there's a lot of patterns, a lot of beliefs, a lot of stories running, a lot of filters, a lot of, to use WordPress speak, plugins that can fuck shit up or make it good. And taking responsibility for that as a creator of my own reality and experience has been a really different, like, mind fuck.
Why?
Well, because it's the dance. It's like we live in this world. You've done a lot of self-development work and work on yourself. And so if I was to say, is it true, Jeremy, that you create your life? I'm pretty sure that you would say, of course. You're like, yes, I create my life. That you understand that you have a responsibility to the results and experiences that you have. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a spectrum in how we choose to interpret that.
I would add to your thing, which Jeremy is creating my life today?
Right.
Because I've also dived into the subconscious stuff. In fact, last year I hired someone. She has this process called SRT, subconscious release therapy, and we talk about what's going on, and I'd breathe in, I'd hold my breath, because her thesis was, hey, when you hold your breath, the ears have access to the subconscious brain. I was like, wow, that's very
I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah. So I'd breathe in, I'd hold my breath. And she would talk to me and say, I release the doubt of the judgment of the this and this around relationships with my father. And then I'd let go. And we go 10 of these, and then I do it again, and she'd fill me up. I am a conscious being of power and light and creativity, and I'm open and healed. And I found that it was oddly effective. And I've done 10 years of everything you can imagine. Right. I've walked on the coals with the Godfather, Tony Robbins. I've gone to SEAL Fit and done really challenging physical events. Right. I've gone into the jungles and done DMT. I've done all the psychedelics. I've done all the personal development challenges. I helped build a personal development.
You've done every 30-day challenge in development world?
Yeah, no.
I'm just kidding.
Yes. No, but I tried a lot, and I was like, man, this sounds a little weird, but I'm a little weird, so fine, I'll try it. I found that it was really interesting, and my relationships got better with my mom and with money, and I was like, okay.
Well, see, where I was going with that is I appreciate that beautiful description of your experiences and how it works, because
yes, of course, my boy.
The point is that if we acknowledge that we have a creative responsibility, even in apathy, if we don't want to acknowledge it, we're still creating something. Yeah, that it's a matter of awareness as far as what am I doing in this moment or not doing that's creating a certain result. And then it expands out. And a lot of the work that I have done with Upgrade and the subconscious and all that has been trying to just kind of let go. The concept of surrender. I realized from experiences in my childhood and how I was raised and different aspects of relationships that I've had, and the whole thing, it becomes very easy to like start to see yourself in this weird lens that has nothing to do with you. But you've created that experience on some level. And so it's like this labyrinth maze trying to get the fuck out of all of that mess so that you can stand, so that I can stand, you can stand in your power. Like that's such a trite thing. Stand in your power, girl. But
Come on, baby.
Come on, you boss bitch. But like seriously, like standing in a space where you're like, look, none of it matters except for me and how I choose to feel about this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
so body language, I haven't studied a bunch of that, but I get it. I get that, there's a tell in every move that we make, and there's a science behind it.
Do you want to know like a pattern I've witnessed?
Yes, please.
That I'm fascinated by.
Okay.
Actually, two of them. Two patterns. The first one will be random.
Okay.
When you're at a restaurant, this moment helped me see into the matrix. I was like, oh my gosh. Have you heard of groupthink before?
Of course.
I was like, this is groupthink happening in real time. I've tested this for years. Next time you go to a restaurant, and for all you listeners out there, try this. And for all you viewers, you will notice that regardless of if it's a 5-star steak like restaurant or a 3-star Michelin, which there's only a couple of those on the planet, or if you are at, not bad place, but Applebee's.
Sure.
Okay. All right. There's a spectrum here. There's stuff below Applebee's, but somewhere with an actual like waiter, not fast food. They will always have the same exact question. And I was like, how is this happening? And they always walk up to you after you've ordered and you started eating. Have you noticed? I'm going to ask you if you can remember what they've told you.
It's going to be something about how's everything going, how things taste,
close. Not quite yet.
It's about the experience where I don't know the exactness. But
they say this exact thing, and I've tested this, bro.
Okay.
And test this going forward. Hey, are we still doing okay?
Interesting. Yeah, that's exactly what they say.
Hey, are we still doing okay? Hey, are we still doing okay? Hey, are we still doing okay? And I was like, after a while, I just sat there. And I started asking them questions like, excuse me, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm not even trolling you. I just have a genuine question. When you're going through your training, did someone teach you to say that when you walked up to a patron? Because obviously your training is very intentional. And they're like, they'd always do this stare like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I got that from. And for like 2 or 3 years, from 2017 to 2019, before the pandemic, I would just ask them, and everyone said, I don't know. I don't know where I got that from. And they're like, I just say it. Yeah, just say it. I was like, man, that's groupthink at its finest. That's like slang times 10. Hey, are we still doing okay?
Yeah.
And I found so fascinating with that pattern, but that's completely random, just something that popped into my head.
Well, what you're sharing is there's so many examples of that are even deeper.
Yeah.
Like you talk about groupthink. The tribalism of politics right now.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Like there's certain things where like we don't even know why we have an opinion about something because we're in this groupthink group of, well, this is the tenets of what we should be, spouting about. And
exactly.
And they over there aren't like me, so, And when you get, I miss the days when at least my perception was that you didn't have to be in the group to have developed an opinion. You could have developed the opinion first and then chose who you want to lead you, if we're talking politics, or to represent you, not lead you, represent you. And there's stuff in relationship. Like look at social media when people pop in their stories. Hey guys, what's going on? It's the same 6 words that they say every single time.
Yeah.
And then you scroll on because you're already bored because part of your mind is like, oh, that, like you psychologically in that subconscious, like this isn't interesting to me. This isn't original. Bye-bye.
Exactly. And getting to the pattern that I was most fascinated with, because you actually spoke into it perfectly. Being around a lot of people, and you're around a lot of guys, a lot of women, a lot of high achievers, I feel like one of the patterns that is absolutely being dismantled right now, because we've just see it played out for at least a decade. I mean, it's been playing out for hundreds of years, but from a social media, like in your face way, the hustle achiever lifestyle is being dismantled. And when you're speaking of, hey, what's it like to being with certain celebrity or being around that, there's some that are true to form and they're true to themselves, and others who are really, they've really played out the let me just like show everyone that I'm the best by getting everything and by just looking like the best.
Yeah.
And the level of unhappiness that I witness with these people is so evidential across multiple industries or multiple expressions that I'm like, wow, man, it's really, it's not even that cool anymore to try to show yourself and be the best. It's cool to be your best, but what's even cooler is to really live a good, rich life with good relationships. Not like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay, I'm hustling my ass off, so, you know, man, my relation with my father, my mother, my siblings, and my friends are really fall apart. I struggled big time with that, where my friends and my family and these relationships really fell apart on my come up when I was trying to like, I'm gonna make myself, I'm gonna build, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And there's a really interesting Harvard study studied men over a course of 100 years and the quality of their life. And they found that the number one thing that dismantled men was alcohol and substance abuse. And the number one thing that kept a man in a rich life was his friendships, not his marriage and not even his kids. It was actual friendships. Like, they studied this for 100 years. You can go look at it. It's a great study that Harvard put out. And they really make a case for the quality of your life really comes down to the quality of your relationships. And how many times are we like seeing people flex their relationships online with their friends in like a quality, healthy, like, hey, I could have done that deal, or I could have sacrificed for an extra $10 million on the enterprise value of my company, but instead I took those vacations and I invested in those friendships. And yeah, I still had a great liquidity event, still built a great company, but I have the quality of my life intact. And that is actually becoming the new standard, which is like, great, I love that you can achieve, but hey, dude, how are you?
I think it's becoming the new standard out of necessity, though.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting that you bring this up because I've had these swirling thoughts over the last couple of days respective to this exactly. And I think that it lends itself as well to one of those groupthink ideas where for
that's what's cool. I'm going to do that.
We elevate money and the achievement of it to cover up sins that if the money was gone, we would never put up with.
Yeah.
We look at individuals like here in Salt Lake, there's a lot of, influential people that, have massive followings that, have tons of adoration coming back at them.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when you get to, like, for me, when I've gotten to know some of them, I'm like, realize, oh, that guy's a real deal.
Yeah. Really good guy.
Really good guy.
Yeah.
And other times I'm like, oh, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I get angry at society for elevating that fucking guy.
Yeah,
because it's only because of the appearance of influence that he has any say. He's not articulate. He's not smart. He did something funny. It's like, or did something that got him to a place where he had this appearance of success. Mm. And oftentimes the appearance of success is nonsense too. It's like when you get into the, financials or whatever, it's a bunch of, shell game. This is going over here. This is whatever.
Yeah.
And I want to say that too, because that's a very important thing. I've noticed when individuals, myself included, when we elevate certain people to be at a standard, not knowing the full story, it's kind of an icon worship. It's like this hero worship stuff, and there's not a good ending to any of that.
No, especially being with some of these quote unquote heroes, and sitting with them and just seeing their candor and seeing the quality of their communication, seeing how they treat people. Some are just absolute darlings, and others are like kind of just preoccupied. They're with themselves. They're the center of the universe. And that's fine. It's not, but it's about like what you're saying, which is making that the thing to pursue. And I think any smart person these days who's at least lived a lot, because we're not doing right now is we're not throwing rocks. It's looking at it with a critical eye of like, hey, all right, it's played out. I've had a season of a lot of hustle for years and years, trying to like reach that. And I got to do an assessment of how am I? Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I lonely? What do I feel guilt and shame about? And it usually came down to relationships and how I was taking care of myself and loving and just keeping health. And it's fun to just let those layers kind of slide off and to come back, 2 circles ago to what you were saying, which is to, the real power is to really just be you. Yeah. And to enjoy that. And yes, go build wealth and go build a cool company and be prolific in that, because money is extremely important in this. If you really want to play the game of life, just figure out the money game and play that game, but don't have that be your game, the game, capital T.
There's two things that came up as I was listening to you describe that so eloquently. The first one is that I fully endorse and agree with you that it's not just an idea, but people, especially men, they need to go get money.
Yeah.
There is
really important.
There's a growth and a self-awareness that occurs in the pursuit of it, in the management of it, in the growth of it, in how people handle you.
Yeah.
It really is a magnifier.
It's an excellent personal development device.
It is. It's like even in relationship, as you say, like a high-value man, part of being a high-value man is having resources.
Yeah.
And high-value men have options. And when high-value men have options, then they're exposed to having to stay within the options that they think are the best ones or that they've committed to in the temptation or in the face of other options that might seem more appealing at the time. It's a real crazy place to be in. And most men don't get that opportunity to test themselves. Bill Burr has a really funny bit where he talks about...
Love Bill Burr.
He's a savage. He's so smart about social issues and has a way to put them in a bit that is just like, of course, you're laughing your head off the whole time. He talks about how basically the gold digging whore is a problem. Like, we have these women whose whole modus operandi is to go get the guy and get his money.
Yeah.
And they throw themselves at these rich dudes, and it has this thing. And then he uses, the example of Tiger Woods, that people judged him when it came out that he had all these mistresses and he had cheated on his wife and everything. And he's like, we don't even know how much pussy he turned down. Like, you don't have a bevy of Swedish models waiting for you to come off the tour bus that you have to say no to. Like, you parked your Corolla next to the dumpster on your way into Chili's, dude. Like, you don't know what that's like, okay? So the idea that these, inferior men are judging a man and his experiences like they did Tiger is truly laughable. It's like, you have no point of reference, homie. So there's that. There's guys
given the test, what would you do, bro?
Right. And most of these chubby fucks would be like the same thing Tiger did. They would give in, or they would think they're better, and then all of a sudden that option would become more than an option. It would become something they're doing. That's why you have so much issue. It's like, I've talked about this before. The energy of ambition and of going to get money and sexual energy are very close together in their frequency.
Yeah.
And that's why successful men struggle with that. That's why it's way easier for a successful guy to be unfaithful to his wife. That's way easier for a successful guy to be like, fuck it, I'm going to go do a line of blow and get a hooker. I'm here in Vegas. What's all good? While having a beautiful family at home. Like, poor guys don't deal with that. Not because they wouldn't have the same issue or temptations, which shines a further light on the ones that have done the actual work, that stay stalwart in their commitments. The other thing that I wanted to say relative to that is that, in the respect to hero worship and all this, it really is that we're all just kind of doing our own thing. And we get to be more kind to ourselves. I had this, talk about the friendships being the way that, a strong quality of life is built is through your friendships. Your relationships, clearly, but like, men really need other men as friends. Not too long ago, I was in Laguna with Keith Yackey.
Love that guy. He
started that. Oh, he's salted.
I just put out his documentary yesterday.
Oh, hell yeah, dude!
He just did one. You're gonna like it.
Okay, I can't wait to see it. The Married, dude. He's such a unique man.
Yeah,
in the best way possible.
Yeah. He
so
loves
much joy,
friendship.
so much love. Well, he started that brotherhood called the Ascend Brotherhood. And he had been inviting me to that for months, and I just had reason after reason why I couldn't go, and then I decided in December to go, and I went to that weekend. And it was truly transformative for me. I realized through the experience of those men and the friendships and the accountability and the competition that was a part of that, that I had been lacking that in such a dangerous way. And I had this moment of love for myself where I said, well, if I've been able to achieve the things that I've done now without that, look out, man. And I shared my experiences on this podcast and in my social about it, and droves of men reached out to me. They're like, dude, how do you get that? Like, where do you get that? That's not offered to people anymore. That, like, true brotherhood and friendship where it's a safe place where you can go bust each other's balls, you can share your ills, you can be fully yourself even when you're fucking up and doing the wrong thing, and they will support you and not endorse any bad behavior, but like still be there to love you. Like, that's how men elevate to being more powerful and more high value. What Keith has created that. I mean, we got another weekend that's coming up next weekend, heading out there again. And I can't wait Because full disclosure, there's been some really, really dark times, even in the last few weeks in my life. I got very, very sick with I hadn't been that sick in 10 years, dealing with other, awareness, emotional things, trying to, embrace my own greatness and not fall to the idea that I'm not great, and results.
Is that what
stress.
puts you into a state of darkness? Was feeling like you're not doing good enough?
Yeah, I had like a really bad bout of imposter syndrome.
Really?
Where I was like, I have the appearance of all these things, but it's a fucking joke behind the scenes, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I
can
realized,
relate
I'm
to
like, well,
can relate.
it's a joke for everybody behind the scenes. Let's be honest. Like, nobody's got all this shit fully figured out.
Yeah. Well, and if it's a joke for everyone, it's a joke for no one. It's just
Right.
accepting what it really is.
Right.
And knowing like, it's cool. It's okay to have a highlight reel lifestyle as a leader, because you can't show everything, but it's okay to also show the moments you're falling apart. I have a lot of experience with the brotherhood stuff because I helped
Yeah, you
grow
were a warrior, yeah.
grow a company called Wake Up Warrior with a guy named Garrett White. And it was 2013 to 2018. I served as creative officer
Served like it was a mission.
and CMO. Yeah, I mean, I really
was called.
felt like
the prophet
that.
told me I was going to go to Laguna Beach. And
Yeah, I grew up Mormon
me too.
and left the church at 19, mostly because of a cultural thing. And I never really had a relationship with Christ. And not until like my 20s did I actually encounter like the power of what Christ really is. But that's another topic we can get into if you want. And I was a man boy dude at 24. And I was in a rock band.
Well, that's one of the things that I haven't really even introduced you. You are a phenomenal musician and performer. I rock your shit on Spotify. It's in the top of my list every year. When I get, yeah, dude. Man. That most recent single that you had, I'm forgetting the name. Reasons. I love that song.
She had reasons.
Dude, it's so good.
Oh, man.
Did you write that and produce that song yourself?
Yeah, I wrote and produced.
That's a banger.
Thanks, bro.
It's so good.
You know, I wrote that from a girl. It was like a real breakup, my last breakup. Usually these days, because I played 2 lives. I have the musical life, which there's some really cool results there. Emmy nominated for a song in 2020. I put out records for the last 10 years. I've toured, I've played big shows, been on the news.
Yeah.
So I produce, I'm classically trained. That's like my original
You're
love.
phenomenal at your talent.
Thank you, man.
I can tell that you've worked. You're not just talented, you've worked at it. Like I can tell the level of I'm a musician myself. I play piano and guitar and sing a little bit. And so like I look at you, I'm like, oh my God, this guy not only was blessed by God, but he took it and ran.
Dude, I love to learn, man.
I can tell.
I was homeschooled my whole life. Born at home, homeschooled.
Born at home,
homeschooled, no vaxxed ever on anything. Maybe a tetanus shot or something, because I had a rusty nail stepped on. But my mom was really explicit about one thing. She's like, hey, we're going to do a lot of things, a lot of activities growing up. Bless her heart. She's, 5 kids at home, homeschooled all of them growing up. So she's a freaking gangster, and she's the most angelic person you'll ever meet. She's amazing.
I think I met her once. Was she at that when we ran into each other at the Galvin Center ice skating several years ago? Was she there with you?
Yeah, she was.
I think I met her.
That's cool. You remember that,
brother? Of course, dude. Got a mind like an elephant, bro.
I could use some of that. I could honestly use some of that mind, because these days I'm losing some of my memory. I got to work on that. But the point is, she made a distinction early on. She's like, instead of teaching you what to learn, I really want you to get how to learn. Oof. And it taught me how to ingest and how to look at something and look at the challenge of getting that knowledge into me and never feeling intimidated by it. Even though, if you look at me, dude, I have no GED, no college education, but how does a no GED college education guy become the CMO of an 8-figure company or start his own $1 million company or work with all these greats? And it comes down to just what these days it's all about, which is competency.
You might not have a piece of paper, but you are very educated.
I love to learn,
educated,
because that was the priority. It was like study, but like study things you really want to know. And I loved entrepreneurship, and I loved art, and I studied classical music because I love the language of music.
It's math.
It's math, and it's art, and it's God's like beautiful expression of this mysterious universal language. And so I just fell in love with that, right?
Yeah.
And so when I think about, I don't even know where, I had some sort of punchline, but I forgot it.
Well, dude, like I love that you bring that up because regardless of your filmmaking, you could come on here as an Emmy-nominated, recording artist, and I would be like, this is still Jeremy Finlay.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Here's this song, Reasons, that it's popping up the charts, man. Like,
Right,
here's this
right.
album. Like, you have a Christmas album, right?
No.
For some reason, I thought you did. But.
I sing a lot of Christmas music. This year is my next big project is a Christmas record.
Okay.
Because I just love
Dude, that's
singing.
a cash cow, bro. You get into the right ethos with that, and all of a sudden, every year you get that Mariah Carey money. You know what I mean?
Because that's what I'm going for, baby. I love Christmas music, dude. And every year I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I not do it this year? I've sung it I've done some Christmas stuff. We wrote a Christmas song, Coldplay Christmas song for Southern California last year.
Wait,
and it was on the news.
For Coldplay?
No, a Coldplay style. Sorry about that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I usually sing I'll be home for Christmas. Very jazz.
Like a crooner of jazz, yeah.
Because that's nice during Christmas.
Beautiful.
But this one we were like, dude, let's go like pop rock banger. Okay. And it was so much fun, dude. And that got some hit, but I haven't done like the rich Christmas thing yet. Maybe this year.
Okay, so I have a request. When you do your Christmas album.
Is this a song request?
Yes.
Okay, cool. What do you got?
So my favorite non-Christmas Christmas song on a Christmas album,
It's a lot of Christmases.
it is the final track on Harry Connick Jr.'s When My Heart Finds Christmas album,
Okay.
which is What Are You Doing New Year's Eve?
Cool.
It's my favorite. I just
never
got chills
heard it.
saying the name. But when we're off mic here, I'll show you a little blip of it. It is
Okay.
a phenomenal song about
Cool.
asking a girl, it might be too late, but what are you doing New Year? Not Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. What are you doing New Year's Eve? And for the end of an album, to have that be, because it's a Christmas thing and then there's a New Year's Eve song, it's just the perfect touch.
Wow.
And
Please show me that because I am
I think you could do it phenomenally.
okay. Wow.
And in your style, and it would be beautiful.
Really?
Yeah, because it actually matches with your energy, the whole thing, as far as like the messaging of the song. You'll hear it and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a very Finlay song.
Finlay song. I like that I even have a brand
Yeah.
of song now.
You do. You have you're like a cooler, and I hope this doesn't offend you. I don't think it would, but you're like a cooler version of Michael Bublé.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Bublé, if you're listening.
and I like your voice way better than Michael Bublé.
No kidding, really?
Yeah. He seems like a nerd that got lucky because he had a good voice. And you're not a nerd. You're bohemian.
I'm bohemian as fuck.
For sure, dude. I mean, I could see you singing a Christmas special with your nipples out because you have like just a flowy shirt. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
That's
Yeah.
how it would go. I wouldn't wear a
course.
suit. I would probably dress like a.
You'd be like, Lenny Kravitz, this is for you. I borrowed your style for a minute.
Yeah, it'd be Lenny Kravitz meets Frank Sinatra.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Dude, you've heard about this Chat GPT thing, right?
Dude, I baked it into I built an app. I baked the API into my app. So I know all about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the idea and it's very powerful.
So I'm thinking the evolution of that is going to be music at some point.
Yeah,
There's going to be like, I want to hear Frank Sinatra meets Lenny Kravitz, and they'll be able to figure out how to create those styles together in a way that you could hear.
They actually have that.
Oh, they do?
In its most infancy form because it's all digital.
Sure.
It's all digital music. You know those old rap. I forgot what it's called. It's like the way that automatic pianos read sheet music
MIDI?
back in the. It was before MIDI was digital.
Oh, like the scroll thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
How pianos used to do that.
Yeah.
So they took that logic and baked that into like a Chat GPT format, and you can actually ask it, and it'll spit out a digital machine style of you could do that, but it just obviously sounds like absolute dog shit. But it's like they're trying, and you're like, oh wow, they actually did it.
Okay.
It's so fascinating, bro. The language, so it's large language models, because people are like, oh my gosh, it's intelligent. You're like, no, what it's done is it's just
an algorithm, really.
It's literally just understands the pattern of language,
Right.
And language happens to be how we interface as people, how we take our mind and put it into words. So we feel like it's intelligent, but it's just language patterns.
So it's not conscious. It's just it's basically a very complex algorithm that knows if this, then that, and they can.
Yeah, it's an if this then that times a million.
Right.
And so that's why it can feel so intuitive. But it's also why a magician can walk up to you and based on a couple things of reading you can like read your mind or read the card. It's kind of a trick.
Right.
It's not he's not actually clairvoyant, right? So these things aren't actual intelligence. Eventually, I mean, they say over the next 10 years it will be, but that'll be an interesting one.
Dude, I got to talk to you about this.
I
I stumbled
technology,
across this
by the way.
show on Apple TV Plus
Oh, here we go.
called Foundation.
Bro.
Have you watched it?
Oh my gosh, I love Foundation.
Dude, I just finished the first season.
You did?
Like about 2 weeks ago.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, welcome to the Foundation Roadshow, dude. That show was bonkers to me.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Bonkers.
for those of you that haven't seen it, you need to go check it out. But the premise of the show is that there was this really powerful, intuitive mathematician
Yeah.
that figured out some sort of algorithmic equation that could predict high population models and where they're going. And there's this empire that rules the galaxy, basically, and he predicts the fall of this empire.
Yes.
And then you watch it kind of unfold as this fantasy thing. But the backdrop is always the math.
Yes.
And the idea that it's always math.
Mm-hmm.
Even consciousness on a core level is math.
Mm-hmm.
The way something tastes is mathematic. The way you feel something, the chemicals in your body that make you feel good, it's math. And it makes perfect sense that, of course, the math would expand out to the prediction of the future.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I watched that show. Like I was like,
I was blown away.
oh, bro.
And the visuals and the music and the
So
aesthetic
well
and the
done, dude.
cinematography, yeah. But the thesis of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, that's one of the original works of science fiction that really hit.
Yeah, Isaac Asimov stuff,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, Dune and Star Wars and these things came from Isaac's work. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
He
Because
was
I
a
get
brilliant
geeky
man.
about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, do you know who Naval is?
Naval.
Naval, he's a famous venture capitalist out
Okay,
of
no, I
Silicon
don't know
Valley. I was just listening to this morning during my workout, and he talked about reductionist math and how a lot of what we think about the universe has been not observable by actual humans. It's been observable by theory or observable by instruments or observable by, like, we've never observed
Dude, that's
dinosaurs.
what belief is.
Exactly. We've never observed dinosaurs.
we
We
just-
believe,
Yeah.
but we're just looking at fossilized bones, thinking, "Oh wow." And so he's talked about reductionist math and how I'll tell you.
So great.
You ever heard
dude.
about what reductionist math is?
No, tell me.
So I hadn't either until today, and this is stuff that I geek out about that I never talk about. So it's cool that there's even a space to even talk about it.
Heck yeah, dude.
So reductionist math is the idea that because you look at the history you look at the past to predict the future, right?
Okay.
And they say
Which
that-
is flawed, by the way.
which is flawed. And they say, well, if the sun rose today, then it'll probably rise tomorrow. And so scientists, when they're doing math and they're doing it in quantum physics, they were like doing this reductionist historical based, because this happened, this will happen in the future. And they said, well, if that's true, then scientifically, if boiling water starts and it just keeps going based on the rate of boil of getting to 212 degrees or however long it is, then based on that rate of boil, it should go up to 1,000,000 degrees. But they're like, but actually you can't use reductionist math for most things in life because things hit what's called a boiling point.
Right.
Water will boil at a certain level and it won't continue to go. And so when they're like, let's look at the past and, you know, that's how it's going to go. It's like people say the past repeats itself, or they say history rhymes, and it's like, actually, it doesn't. Patterns in humans are humans. So yeah, maybe there's some rhyming in human history.
Well, what if it has to do as well with, I know with the work you've done, I've had this happen where you're trying to heal generational trauma inside of you.
Oh yeah.
A version
What
of
a great topic.
you 40 years ago that was your grandfather or whatever that was doing some shit that recreated something. You're recreating it based off of things that were on a cellular level brought to you that you haven't released.
Yep, exactly.
One could think that could, work in that reductive math sort of scenario, but it actually doesn't, because it's not required to continue.
Mm-mm.
You can adjust it. You can heal it.
And you're not him,
Yeah.
which is great. You're just like your father, they say. Oh my gosh, you're just like your mother. It's like, no. As I get older, I really get that. Like, wow, I have my
Well, it's
father in
confirmation
me.
bias at that point. It's not actual truth.
Right.
You're just like your dad. Well, I did 3 things he used to do. So I
Exactly.
guess I'm like him. Like, well, no, that's not actual.
Generational healing, bro, is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, whether you're going spiritually at it, like praying it out, doing medicine journeys, or going to a church, or going something to like really clear that stuff out, or you're doing reductive, like, hey, you're going back into extended family members and understanding things and healing that. And I mean, I really believe there's people who are coming online, getting woken up, escaping the matrix, to use the most like dumb term. Yeah, we are the change in our generation. Like, I'm the change in my generational lineage. In terms of the trajectory of how things have been going, I'm the one who was like, nope, we're going this way, you know. And there's a lot of friends that I'm with where they're like, they feel this call. There's like, they heard the dog whistle. It's invisible to most, but they hear it, and it motivates a lot of really hard work that most of our family, our friends, people in society are unwilling to do, because there's some people that are like, we are the ones that are willing to go into the darkness and make those changes and reset the frame, because some people don't have the grit to go into the place to do the really hard work. They just need it's a different story for them.
Right.
And some people are like the generational shift. And it's a really powerful thing.
I watched one of our friend Garrett White's videos a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. And it was a clip of him at an event that he was putting on. I don't know which event it was, but he was talking about how the challenge of men right now is to lead in light, not because we're scared of the darkness, but because we're familiar with it.
Yeah.
And that when you go into the darkness, there should be no fear in the darkness, and that we can use the darkness and the language of darkness and the action of darkness to be light workers. Mm. I loved that. As somebody that grew up religious, there is a very real fear of the dark.
Yeah.
And from a young age, I always felt this disconnect with the messaging of religion in relationship to sin and darkness and the other more base emotions that are lower vibrating emotions. Because I thought to myself, like, doesn't God know what these are? Doesn't he have these mastered? In order to have mastered them, doesn't that mean he had to dive in? Doesn't he have to know that in order for Jesus Christ to be able to forgive an unfaithful man, doesn't he have to understand every decision along the way that created that experience for him? Doesn't he have to understand the feelings of lack and need and excitement and all? Doesn't he have to understand that palette to be able to forgive that? And because let's be real, forgiveness has a part of it that is justification. If you're going to be forgiven, there's a sense where you're like, I get it. You're justifying. You're not, well, justification not in the sense of like approval, but justification is like, that equation is an equation that adds up properly. And I always found that interesting. It's like, so why is there this fear? Why is it that we're the most engaging and beautiful men that I know, people that I know, have been in the pit? And they came out and they go, hey, look at the pit. I'm not scared of it anymore.
No.
Don't need to go in there.
And the pit comes back.
Oh, for sure. It doesn't go away. It's not a singular event you walk through. You get a new pit.
Yeah, it's a relationship.
New levels, new devils, baby.
Yeah. And there's also new levels, same devils, with different faces that I've experienced.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
you think it's a new devil, but you're like, oh wait, I know this feeling. Yeah. I know this.
I know you.
You know, I used to. We've been together before, and
I was born in the dark.
Hello, Batman.
Oh,
that was a really bad Bane.
yours, not mine. Mine was awesome.
Batman. I don't have that one.
What are you, the Lego Batman? Right?
Yeah, I don't have it.
Lego Bane.
Yeah, exactly. Batman. I feel like the deepest certainty and calm that I've earned over the years has come from the deep work in looking at the dark. And I love, Elon Musk talks about the dark. Someone asked him one time, he's like, are you afraid of the dark? He's like, the dark's just a lack of photons in the air. No, I'm not afraid of the dark.
That's a beautiful answer.
He's like so scientific about it. And I've used that where people will be like around, whether I'm in the pitch black forest or I'm in like the depths of a dark like alley, or I've just been in like in situations where guys are like, oh wow, okay, it's really dark. I'm like, guys, it's just a lack of photons, dude. Like, chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And then there's the darkness of the soul, which is where the real work happens. And
let's talk about that, because I've had this feeling for a long time that Well, how do I say this? I'm curious to hear your opinion about this. There is an argument to be made that evil doesn't exist. And what evil actually is undeveloped righteousness. It's a fumbling where you're giving into base instincts and base feelings and you're doing things selfishly.
Yeah.
And there's a spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does evil actually exist, or is it just an undeveloped righteousness where it's just immature?
I asked a mentor this like 8 years ago, and I loved his answer because I was really searching for this question, and I've walked out this answer he gave me ever since, and I'm like, yeah, I really stand behind that. And I was like, what is evil? And he's like, evil is confusion. That which is evil is just confused. It's the come from. Because going and being a psychonaut, to be honest, I love psychedelics.
Yeah.
And I've gone through seasons of zero for years where I integrate, and then I go into like, let me do some journeys. And it's always a ceremonial, beautiful ritual and of intention to meet and be with God and to encounter the truth and only light. And in some of those, I've experienced darkness, and the darkness doesn't feel very clear. And yeah, there's some, like, if you look at how it walks itself out in this reality, there's a lot of high-level, white-collar evil out there of intentional tyranny and destruction. But in terms of its base form, it feels very confused and very confusing. And it's like that which comes from, I love what Christ says, be healed for the renewing of your mind. It's like the renewal of the mind and of the heart and of the soul. Once those things are renewed and made back into integrity and alignment, then that which was previously like a broken, addicted man comes out, and the pathways are reneuralized, and his heart is rewired, and he just has a different way, and it's clearer, right? So I look at clear versus confusion as the distinction, and I'm not saying that's the way, but that was a way that
Well, that's at least that's a tangible metric.
It's something to, that's confusion. It might be really well developed, but at the core of that is need and greed and worthlessness.
Yeah.
And therefore it's acting out in this way. But at the core of wholeness and at the core of deep richness of light is it will walk itself out in a way that is developmental, and it cultivates and so I'm always looking at the root. What's the root of the fruit here? And sometimes the root, if it's dark, I'm like, it's just confused, man.
I really appreciate you bringing that up because I'm adding that to my definition. I still believe that it's undeveloped righteousness, but that undeveloped is confused.
Yeah.
It's a seeking of a certain need in a way that won't provide the meeting of the need.
Yeah.
And you used, basically the 7 deadly sins, gluttony and greed and jealousy, and all those things are confused. They're lower vibrating emotions that lead to confusion and isolation.
Which one do you deal with the most? Which one's your vice? Mine's lust. Like, I'm not a very greedy guy. Mm-hmm. I could probably make a lot more money and do a lot more cool shit and get a lot more women and all the lot more, but I'm like, I don't really feel that greedy. I love to give.
Sure.
I'll give before I take. Always. I don't eat like crazy, but I've been thinking about this a lot. The reason I ask is because I'll go into the sea. I'm kind of an extreme dude when it comes to women, and I'm respectful and loving, but I've also had my appetites gone from just total celibacy of, no, man, I'm going to take a break. It's just me and God for about 16, 18 months, and then I'll go back into like, let me go have a threesome or a foursome or go to a sex club or like, and so that's been my vice, has been struggling with lust. And every time my lust is peaked, there's 2 conversations happening for me. One is, it's okay, dude, just enjoy your life, bro. You are an animal, and like these primal instincts are not bad. And there's been times where I've that's been okay. And I become the fuck boy, or I become the guy that just wants a piece of ass, and I'm not judging those guys who live that out as a lifestyle, But I'm always in the back of my mind like, yeah, but bro, you are operating from a lack of wholeness.
Scarcity. Yeah.
And operating from scarcity. What's really going on for you? And so I come back and I cleanse myself a little bit of those patterns, you know? So that's mine. I'm curious what yours would be.
Well, I want to honor this question. And so, Conan, can you look up what the 7 deadly sins are and tell us? Because I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting one that might actually be
envy
one.
Is one of those, which is pervasive in our culture.
Oh, social media is a magnifier.
It's a magnifier of envy.
Yeah.
Greed, lust. Okay, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, anger is one of them as well. I feel like we should know these.
Here we go.
What do we got?
Oh, that didn't give me the answer I was looking for.
In a world where 3 men in a room have forgotten the 7 deadly sins.
Well, it's because we're all like lust. That's
exactly. It's like, dude, we are alpha men who have a lot of creative energy.
Gluttonously envy and angry for lust. That's what.
Yeah, is that what it is?
No.
Yeah.
I get the lust thing though, man. Like that's.
Okay, so here we go. So vainglory.
Okay.
Or pride.
Vanity, pride.
Okay, yeah.
Greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, anger, or sloth.
Yeah.
Sloth.
Oh, the sloth.
Yeah. I think I got a touch of all of them.
I mean, we all do.
We all do, of course.
Yeah.
I think that lust is an interesting one for me too. Not because I have a history of living out lust.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that, I grew up a religious person. I married my first wife as a virgin.
Wow.
And I've had very limited sexual experiences in my life.
Yeah.
The older that I get, the more curious I am.
Yeah.
And just to be real, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's something where it's like, I don't know how to handle I do know how to handle, and I'm handling the curiosity, but it's more just like what else is there as far as like experiences? And it's not, in respect to my wife, it's not like she's not amazing or beautiful and that we don't have a good thing there. It's just more like I think the nature of man and how we desire to procreate and connect and all that.
Well, we're here in America. It's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we don't wonder about how beautiful Switzerland is.
Sure.
Right?
Right. Sloth, I think, I'm not lazy, but I am lazy. I've been able to kind of frame my laziness to be something that has helped me. And
it's more resting than laziness.
Well, it's I hire around it. It's like,
that's just being a good businessman.
Yeah, like if I suck at something, I'm like I don't need to judge myself for the failure of this anymore. I'm gonna get somebody else to help.
Or spend a year learning how to do it. Just because.
Well, that's one thing that I've learned that in relation to all 7 of these is that you can overcome them with time or you can overcome them with money. Like you can pay to have somebody come in and train you, help you heal, guide you, or you can fumble along on your own and have it take way longer, but it's not as expensive with your money. It's just way more expensive with time.
Man, every year, money, the reverence for money becomes increasingly more, increasingly more, like I'm more careful and precious. It's more precious, but not because it's my treasure, but the relationship to being a good steward in life grows. Where the core belief that I have is that the highest version of who we can be as men are kings. But we're also priests and warriors and lovers and magicians and these other things too. But the king identity is all about stewardship. The lover identity is all about, pouring in and ravishing and loving and just giving. Whereas the priest is all about healing. The warrior is all about protection and war. Like these identities have these different postures.
Sure.
And the king identity is really important to me because it's all about stewardship. And we have these resources as men. We grow. And we have resources of capital, we have resources of relationship, we have health resources, we have energy resources, and we take care of ourselves. And
skill sets as well.
Skill resources, oh my gosh, yeah. And stewardship is like, you either, the quality of your life comes down to the quality of how good of a steward you are. And that's been my lesson, at least. I'm still walking that out, but the money stewardship thing, I'm a quick start, let's go make a bunch of money and invest and give away. And only recently, after making millions of dollars, have I been like, I think it's important to manage this stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm totally honest.
Oh my gosh, dude, I love that. Yeah, I'll share this with you. Last month, I had a phenomenal year in my business in 2022. And I realized towards the end of the year in that fourth quarter, I was sabotaging myself in my business because I recognized that it was going to be a shit show trying to organize taxes and all the other accounting and bookkeeping. I've got I didn't have a bookkeeper.
Yeah, for sure.
I was doing this all on my own, which means I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And so I hired a bookkeeper in December, and we're neck deep right now in the discovery of like trying to analyze the last several years and making sure that I'm not going to get super hosed on taxes and everything. And it's from a place of behind.
Yeah.
But the lesson to me was that I brought that upon myself by just kicking the can down the road. We can just later. And every other successful, like truly successful business that I admire, they don't have that issue.
No.
They keep their ducks in a row.
Well, I think a lot of them have experienced this pain.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, never again. And I had...
well, there's a safety. Like, even though I haven't even gotten to a finish line when it comes to this stuff, there's a safety that I'm starting to feel. It's like, it's handled. It's being handled. It's okay. Like, I have a healthy amount of fear of the U.S. government and the teeth that they can have when you don't handle your money properly.
Oh, yeah.
So I have zero interest in being somebody that experiences that on a deeper level. So
yeah, I have experienced that.
Like audits and things.
Gosh, excuse me. Might want to edit that out.
Nah.
No, I've never been audited, but in 2018 and 19, I transitioned out of being a CMO, and I went and I put all my tax money into building software. And I had, I don't know, a $50,000 tax bill. And instead of doing that, I put $100,000 into a piece of software that I thought was going to take off because I was such a hot shot. And I was like, dude, I can sell anything, man. And I ran out of money. I didn't scale it up. And I sat with a tax debt. And I was so broken in my confidence that it turned into a lien. And I was so embarrassed because I was like, oh my gosh, dude. I'm a guy that has created so much value in the marketplace. And I'm so broken in my confidence right now that I'm like, how did I get here? And a lot of it came from kicking stuff down the can. And I spent 2020 and 2021, rebuilding $1 million business, paying off debts. And even to this day, even though I've paid off so much tax debt and paid off those things, there's still a sense of like, when am I going to learn? When you have a $400,000 tax bill, that was my tax bill for 2021. Whew. And I had it re-audited because there was an error, and I was like, holy shit, dude, how did this happen? Because I didn't have the money.
Is your residence in California, or do you keep residence
It's
here?
California residence.
Well, that's probably half the problem right there.
Yeah, and the guy that I was working with wasn't really that creative. But the point was like, that was a lesson of I should have anticipated and prepared and had that set up rather than let me go make a few $1 million this year. And tax bill is going to be whatever. I'm in California. Let me go rent out a $15,000 a month resort style house in Orange County. Let me go, just do the thing. Like I kind of lived out this whole achievement thing lifestyle that I was talking at because I had to live it out to realize, wow, this is actually kind of a trap. I mean, and investors will say, hey, dude, when you're building your value, your enterprise value or your wealth, keep your lifestyle comfortable and do not grow your lifestyle with your wealth for a very long time. And I just was surrounded by people who didn't do that. And I learned the hard way, the painful way of like, dude, I'm such a creator of value, but what the fuck?
Right.
I can't even like pay this? What is going on? I fucked up, And now, yes, there's tax strategies, and I hired tax attorneys, and I'm like, hey man, will you do another audit of this? Like, is this how much it's going to be? But regardless of what the amount was, it was a lesson on lagging indicators rather than leading out and be like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to roll. And it was really painful. I really had to rebuild my confidence as like a man walking, because for a year or two, I walked around with this like secret guilt. I was like, fuck, man.
Dude, I totally understand what you're talking about. Like, I really get that. That's a part of, as I shared in the last couple of weeks, the imposter syndrome stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this going, how in the fuck did I mismanage these opportunities in such a way that put me in this predicament?
It happens a lot, dude. And we don't talk about it because it's like, gross, just talk about gross.
I had a 6-figure month. Cool, dude.
Exactly.
What's going to happen when you don't?
Dude.
And then you got that tax shit still, and you don't know where your money went. You got to go scour every credit card statement and bank statement and figure out, oh, well, this goes, like, that's just a nightmare.
Yeah. It's easy to spend money.
Very true. And it's fun.
And that was my thing, man.
It's easy and fun.
Yeah.
I love spending money.
I'd probably be 10 times more successful if I hadn't spent. Not because of the savings, but because of the personal certainty.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Because I just would have been in flow and grounded as a man.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that when I'm not grounded in integrity, joy, and I got a big swinging dick,
right?
But from a service place, and I'm having this needy, like, I'm a hungry ghost. Oh my gosh, I've got, okay, we made $300,000, but I've got a $250,000 like monthly thing I've got to feed because of people and this, and I'm not saving it. It became like a neediness, and I started to understand how someone could have an 8-figure business with a 20% profit margin, and if they're not managing correctly, they can be bankrupt the next year.
Broke, yeah.
And I was like, dang, dude, maybe I do have an issue with greed and lust, because if I hadn't, I'd probably have not experienced that guilt. And I look back on that. I mean, I'm glad I learned these lessons now, because I'd rather have these lessons at 3 or 5 million than 30 or 50 million when you go to jail for not paying a $5 million tax bill. If you got a $200,000 tax bill, they're like, all right, dude, make some payments, man. Like, just don't do it again. But if you got a $5 million tax bill, that's a different conversation. So I had to really be like,
snipes your ass is what they do.
For real,
Jail, yeah.
And it's a real conversation. That's the part in business that they don't teach you. Like, oh, cool, he learned how to go make the money, but like, how are you doing with growing wealth?
Well, and there's a burnout that happens too. Like, I know for myself, it's crazy that I'm stopping this from happening again. And I recognize that's a part of the emotions that I've shared over the last month, and hiring the bookkeeper and looking at my business differently and trying to figure out ways to have other, value adds that could produce revenue. In 2008, I got into post-foreclosed REOs, real estate owned. I had a partner. We had a company called Landmark Insiders, and we did a ton of business over the course of those 4 years from 2008 to 2012. And neither my partner nor I knew what we were doing to handle that level of money. Because, we closed pretty close. It was high 7,000s in residential properties that we had flipped, buying them 150, 200 properties at a time from these servicers and then flipping them to investors and this whole thing. And there was so much mismanagement of everything that had to do with anything, even so much that our business model, when we would close a deal, there was costs associated with that deal that we were going to have to pay out of pocket into the future that we couldn't calculate. We had mismanaged everything about it. And then I ended up losing it all. Like, it was in 2000, I ended up declaring bankruptcy in 2012 after having years of making millions of dollars a year. And I looked at that and I realized, I look back now, I had a period of several years where I just didn't subconsciously want money.
Yep.
I was in that, more money, more problems, little, Biggie Smalls thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was miserable. I was out of shape. I was trying to, coach and do all this shit from a needy place and needy energy. And it actually was my podcast business and my, my chops and that kind of helped me to get out of it, where I was like, okay, because I was in the world before of like pops. It's like, I'm going to close this deal. I get a couple $100,000 here, pop, get another couple $100,000, pop. And then I would live this high extravagant lifestyle with a bunch of stuff that could very well be done if I don't get another pop. I was unemployed until my next deal closed.
Yeah.
And then I get into this business and I'm like, okay, so I want to I still want to have the opportunities for those with my, single consulting. We're going to start this. Here's the cost. It's a larger amount, but building a recurring model where it's like, we produce close to 50 episodes a week for different podcasters. And so there's like I get my Stripe notifications every time a monthly swipes. And it's like this reminder of that.
That's a real business. People say you don't have a real business till you have a recurring model in play somewhere. I mean, you can have a value ladder that has big money here and there, but you're right on point. And it's funny you say about the pop thing because, bro, those pops can be addictive, man.
Oh, they can. And we get
deal hunting for the next pop. Like an orgasm.
My post real estate career was in commodities. I actually had a big book of investors and former clients, and fortunately, most of them had positive opinions of us.
Yeah,
and we had done well for them, and they'd gotten. There was a couple people that lost money, and it was an ugly situation. And it's investments, man. Sometimes shit doesn't work. But I was going for the bigger pop. I met this guy that was out of the East Coast in North Carolina, and he had all these relationships in Southeast Asia, but he didn't have any relationships in South America. And as a former Mormon that served a mission in Brazil, I still speak Portuguese and can, communicate effectively, even in a business standpoint. And Spanish was always right there because of my Portuguese.
Right.
And we partnered up, and I started traveling to South America all the time, trying to put together these massive commodity deals.
Wow.
For the pop.
Yeah.
And dude, my poor family dealing with this shit because I'm piecing together. I'd get a $25,000 deposit here, and then I'd get a $100,000 deposit here, things. And we were trying to close these deals. Meanwhile, I'm living in this $2 million house in Mill Creek, right on the river. Yeah, living this total extravagant lifestyle, not having any financial chops to be able to hold it if I needed to. Yeah, exactly. Became house poor very quickly. Yep. I remember there's every year on June 6th. There's this picture that pops up in Facebook that reminds me of this fuckery. Okay? Wow. So we had put together this deal with this group that had a headquarters out of Chicago, and then they had a bunch of satellite offices in Southeast Asia, China and Vietnam and all these different port cities. And we hooked them up with this. We were selling soybeans. We had hooked them up with it was a $305 million contract. My payout on that was going to be about $8 million. The picture is me in a suit in Buenos Aires, Argentina, with these two Argentinian brothers who were the owners and family members of the co-op that were providing the beans, and this Chinese guy that was there, and they were signing the contract. And I was supposed to get that pop within 30 days. I was supposed to have $7 million coming to me in 30 days. Wow. I leave that place. I'm high on the hog. We're shopping for Rolls Royces. We're going to the BMW dealer. We're going to pay off the house. It's going to be this thing, Wow. It never comes to be.
Wow. Why?
Well, it's a. Is
it one of those long? It just unravels.
No, I got fucked. Is what happened.
Gotcha.
So we were the.
I just got fucked.
Yeah.
Royally.
Exactly. Well, it's kind of an interesting.
So you were
story.
a broker.
I was a broker,
and they just pushed the broker out.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing is that the guy who was responsible for me getting pushed out, he ended up going to jail for 4 years because his ex-wife accused him of, some stuff with their kid that was gross, and he didn't have proof of that, and it was in Argentina, which is even worse when it comes to believing women.
No kidding.
Here. And he was kind of a fucker. So
no way.
The idea that he had some karma coming to him didn't sadden me that much.
Yeah.
But we got this call. This was interesting. My partner on that business, we got this call about 2 years later. And it was from an attorney out of Miami. He's like, "Hey, you're being a part of this lawsuit. There's a lawsuit between this company out of Chicago and the Argentinian group, and we're having to do it in this international way, whatever, because you were a part of this. There was a breach of contract. They only shipped 6 boats. They were supposed to ship 12." And we're like, "Huh? So they shipped, huh? Yeah, we didn't even know. They told us that it fell apart. We had no idea that we got fucked until 2 years later when this attorney tells us that this is happening."
Wow.
But
you bring up the beauty, whether you believe in karma or you just believe in the blessing or you just believe in whatever the belief is.
He created it for himself. When you do wrong by enough people, that you got it coming.
Exactly. And that's that kind of, when coming back to the grounded feeling, I will take being rooted and grounded in love, joy, richness, and generosity. Yeah. If it means making 10 times less money for the rest of my life. Now, here's the thing. I'm a capitalist, and I believe that I will make 10 times more money because of that posture of coming from a place of groundedness and rootedness. But man, the peace of mind that comes that you destroy in the name of a little more is it's just not worth it.
Well, I fully attribute the turmoil that I went through emotionally in my marriage, financially, in my body. It was shortly after that whole scenario happened, 6 months actually. That happened in the summertime. I was diagnosed with testicular cancer and lymphoma in November of that same year.
Wow.
So there was some
And you
shit,
attribute that.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, disease, dis-ease, your body's not at ease.
Yeah.
I was trying so desperately to hold on to this life that I was thinking in some way gave me value.
Yeah.
I had to be a rich guy so that people would think I'm a good guy.
So that people will know. Yeah.
And so people would appreciate what I am. So that. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And it has played a huge role in a couple of things. There's a lot of inner work that I've had to overcome in my relationship with money to be able to even get to the point where I'm at now, based off of that sort of mantra of like, dude, when you get money, you get more problems. That was a reality for me for a long time. And now it's not.
Money equals danger.
Right.
Is a lot of subconscious belief.
Right. And you have these conflicting beliefs too, because also money equals ease.
Yeah.
And it equals access. But it comes with this danger piece, and it's like it doesn't have to come with danger. Like you can manage that differently.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, you know, I've had to relearn that. And there's a that funny saying that says the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
Yeah.
I know that devil now.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not going to let that guy come out and play anymore.
Yeah, and I haven't known that devil until the last couple of years. Until the posture in the relationship with seeing money as a lack, or I mean, even just simply, even when you're growing, you being so obsessed with what the bank account balance is and nothing else. Like how many men, whether they're absolutely wealthy or just working a normal job, the quality of their day is based on the bank balance that they see. Yeah. And it took me a long time to finally get over that, because that's a lagging indicator of value created. What's a leading indicator of value created? It's what's the work and the service you're providing in the world. If you just are looking at that, you're literally looking at the past value you created.
Yeah.
If you're looking at forward on who you're serving and what you're doing, that's a leading indicator. Oh yeah, you got some cool things going on.
Yeah.
And it's just these little things, man. Like I thought I would grow out of making millions of dollars, whether it's for other people or personally through my merchant accounts or my bank accounts, having that come and seeing that and being stewarded of it. I'm like, same patterns, bro. Same new levels, same devil. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Come on, man. And it took returning to worth, a sense of worth and wholeness, and not being duped, man. Not being duped with the narrative.
Well, you touched on it. It all stems from a sense of worth and wholeness.
Yeah.
Like if a man or an individual doesn't have a sense of worth or wholeness, they will fill it in with something else. That void will be filled up somehow. Mm-hmm. And whether or not it's wholesome or detrimental is to be seen. But yeah, man, I'm really great. In retrospect, I'm grateful for that. I don't like looking at those experiences with what they call a secondary gain. Like I've learned this through Upgrade and some of the training I've done mentally with that. It's like whenever we fail and then we decide to extract value from the failure, and then we value the value that we extract justifies the behavior of failure, it creates more failure. Because our MO at that point is that, I'm going to get this great lesson by failing.
Exactly.
It's like, well, fuck that. I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
So I've had to shift that up to where it's like, I look at that, the failures were what they were.
Yeah.
I did take experiences from there that have shown me something, but they are separate. Those experiences could have been there whether or not I was succeeding or failing. Yeah. It just happened to be illuminated differently because of a certain level of lack I was experiencing.
And there's maybe some other ways that those lessons could have been learned.
100%.
And I being in the personal development world for so many years, I mean, I started going at 16, 33, that's a long time.
That's 17 years in case you
17 years. I was homeschooled, bro. So I was thinking about this actually recently. I was like, there's an addiction to the secondary gain.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it becomes an excuse. Like, oh, it's cool, I'll fail because I'll learn the deep lesson on this and I'll
we try to like minimize that it's going to suck to fail.
And I've really getting out of the need to always look at the deeper lesson and to just be like, no, man, why don't we just look at the facts?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't work. Try it again. But like, stop with the train of the guilt train or the, oh my gosh,
Everything doesn't have to have a reason.
It doesn't have to be so profound. It's just like some of the coolest people I know are the simplest thinkers. And some of the most tortured people I know are the deepest thinkers. Because the deeper thinking turns into rumination. And I've had to, because I'm a deep thinker and I'm prone to guilt and shame and darkness and depression, just like I'm prone to joy and delight and charisma and dancing and being totally colorful. It's a lot. I'm not really a depressed person, but I've experienced depression plenty of times. Sure. And these days I've had to really just kind of suspend myself from the need to be such a deep thinker, because especially after years of like encountering the eighth dimension on DMT or having these moments with God where I'm constantly in awe of the way that this reality is put together, it's not always useful to focus always on the unseen. It's really useful to make things practical here. Bring those things into this reality, establish, cultivate this garden that we're in, not try to escape off into these other places,
My comedy mind is going crazy right now because it's like there's a bit somewhere when you talk about the secondary gain and like having to have this difficult experience have some value that you weave into some story that's a part of your development. It's like, why don't we do that for like a difficult shit?
I'm on my 6th divorce right now.
Dude, I took the largest dump, man. It actually ripped me a little. And I felt that in that failure, what lesson I learned was in life, if you push too hard, you're never going to get where you want to go. You got to relax and let it ease out. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's exactly it.
That's the level of shit that we deal with. Like, we take these experiences that fucking suck, and then we craft them into some sort of whimsical tale of learning and development. It's gross.
Have you ever been through Landmark Education?
No, but I've been through, so Peak Potentials is Harv Ecker's company. Then he was the guy that wrote Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. He had similar things that were like Landmark, so I understand kind of what you guys had done in that, but I've never been through Landmark itself.
They have a come from called they talk about the payoff.
Okay.
And it's this exact thing. They're like, okay, so your relationship with your wife or husband has been a problem for 5 years. Okay, interesting. There's this and this, and they get all this information and they ask you the single question, which is, so what's the payoff? What is the payoff? They're like, what do you mean? What's the payoff? Well, obviously, if it wasn't giving you something, it would have ended a long time ago, or you would have shifted it. Like, there's a payoff somewhere in all this where you're actually receiving some sort of, in their words, payoff to keep it going. And they're like, oh my gosh, the payoff, like for me, I was angry at my father for many years and my mother because they just didn't equip me to be an adult. So I spent my 20s tripping over myself, trying to learn how to be responsible, and I blamed my parents for that. Right. And so the payoff in blaming my parents and having a disconnected relationship with them was in not having responsibility for myself and my life. So I was suspending responsibility and accountability and blaming it on them. So they're like, man, my dad, like, I just don't like my dad, and my mom, oh my gosh, like, she's an angel, but dude. So I operated from this place of blame for many years, and they're like, well, what's the payoff? And I learned that it was actually how I transferred irresponsibility. So if I was irresponsible for anything, it was their fault.
That is a great question to ask.
Yeah.
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, I'm thinking of specific behaviors in my life that had been, even some of them that still persist that don't serve. I'm like, well, what is the payoff?
The payoff of me not making enough money is that it activates the warrior inside of me. If I haven't learned yet truly how to have, $1 million in the bank and still have that activated sort of like, okay, I'm building. It has to go down below a certain standard for me to be like, oh my gosh, fuck. And that's the payoff of not having enough.
Need.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's worth analyzing, man.
Yeah, that is.
What's the payoff of us being on this podcast together?
It'll come to us. It's
eyes
beautiful.
Locked.
This has been a fantastic show, dude.
Yeah, great one. What a great time.
Let's wrap it up with some current events. You ready to talk some shit?
Let's talk some shit.
Okay, so producer Con over here is going to tell us some things that are happening in the real world,
Okay.
and then we're going to make fun of them.
Oh, great.
No holds barred.
Hello, producer Con.
How you doing?
What's up, bro?
He's my Jamie. He's the best. You know what I mean?
I just have to say I really appreciated this conversation you guys had, and I'm lucky to be a part of it. And
That's right, baby. Get money, fuck bitches. That's what we say.
That's our ethos and culture and lifestyle.
I would say that's a good name, but I don't know if that's going to be good for the SEO.
Probably not, yeah. Might be
Get
for
money,
some.
fuck bitches with Jeremy Finlay. Jeremy T. Is it T. Finlay?
T. Finlay, yeah.
Okay, there we go. You and the Warrior guys always got to have your initials popping. You know?
It comes from our Mormon background.
I get it because I am D. Bryce Prescott.
Exactly, dude. Oh my
It's
gosh.
so proud. Like, it's so stupid, too.
It's really stupid,
Yeah.
but that's for another day.
is.
Let's make fun of not ourselves anymore.
Let's do it. What do we got here, buddy?
well, you covered a couple of mine, but I got a pretty good one. And then
Okay.
selfishly, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Just having
Yes.
you in the
Yes.
studio. So
We're on a panel now. I like it.
Cool, let's do this.
Welcome
so
to TEDx,
Yes.
South Jordan style.
JetX.
JedX. There it is.
the first the news article I have is that scientists recently took woolly mammoth DNA and impregnated an elephant, and so they're growing a woolly mammoth out of that. I kind of get this Jurassic Park vibe where they're taking DNA from the past.
I'm reminded of what a great career Rosie O'Donnell has had when I think of
So what are your thoughts on that?
woolly mammoth and a fucking. Who was the? What's the other animal?
An
elephant.
Elephant. And woolly.
So an
That's
Indian
Rosie
elephant.
O'Donnell, bro. That's
Wow.
just hilarious.
Yeah, I sit here and I'm reminded of the monkey in us, bro.
Yeah.
We're just fucking monkeys, man, trying to recreate the cave Stone Ages so that we can just get money and fuck bitches.
That would be a crazy animal, though. A woolly mammoth with a. Would it though? Like it's kind of the same thing. It's like one of those sphinx
It's a hairy.
cats that are hairless.
It's a hairy elephant.
It's a hairless. An elephant is a hairless woolly mammoth.
Oh, exactly.
much.
When you
But
look at like sphinx cats that are the hairless cat, that's what it is. We're looking at the two.
elephants are already hairless woolly mammoths,
Right.
So this is just a hairy elephant.
There it is.
There it is. That's going to be a new slang.
Okay, well,
you
hold on, though.
You hairy elephant.
You damn long trunk hairy elephant.
Yeah, I'm
Five-
reaching here. I'm not that. I don't have chops like you do.
Dude, give it time.
comedically.
It'll,
Okay,
we'll,
all right,
we'll,
cool.
we'll settle into a group think here, and I'll be loaning you some of this
Please.
stuff. I want to know what scientist was like. You know what we need to do, guys? Hold on.
Yeah. Number one
Woolly
priority
mammoth.
with our new funding.
Fucking elephant, bro.
Does it say why they did that?
No, they just wanted to create it.
Yeah. Whenever I hear stories like that, I'm like, why? Who are these folks who are like, you know what we need to do? Like Wuhan in China and shit. Like,
Oh, we're going
why
there.
do we need? No, we're not going to stay there. But I'm going to say, like,
Okay.
why do we need gain of function research? What sort of Dr. Evil motherfucker
Yeah,
is
yeah,
sitting there
yeah.
going, you know what we need to do? We need to make sure this thing can kill everything.
And they need to make sure that they word it in such a way where you have no idea what it means.
Yeah. Gain of
Yeah,
function.
We're just doing some gain of function research. Oh, really? Oh, so you're creating mass weapons
you're
of biochemical
supercharging
destruction?
viruses? That's cool. What
Exactly.
it is.
Hello, it's like, hello there. My name is Scientist X. We would like to perform gain of function research. Would you like? You're like, yeah, of course I would. That sounds great.
Science X, could you please describe what gain of function? Well, see, here's the point.
Right.
The virus itself has a function.
Yeah.
And we would like that function to have gain,
Yes. Yeah.
increase in its capacity.
Yes.
Oh, you're trying to kill everyone. Exactly. Oh,
Think-
no, I didn't mean that.
Have you ever seen a guitar amp with the volume down? See, what we want to do is gain up that motherfucker so that it reaches all people.
Right. And when we get to the right level, we'll have reverb functions
Yes.
discoveries. 'Cause
Echoes of function.
Right, echoes of function. Yes.
Yes. You see, that is nice because we're trying to have a rock concert of virus,
Right, yes.
of virality.
We want the Lollapalooza of viruses here.
Yeah, the Coachella of
Right.
viruses.
Right, it's going to be fantastic.
Deuces, right, you know, like horns to heaven.
The Kanye virus is performing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That old virus, the measles, will be approving in hologram form.
The needles.
The measles will be in hologram form.
AIDS is our headliner.
AIDS is headlining, dude. Fucking what a banger virus. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
shows up all the time.
Have you seen White Lotus?
No, but I've heard about it. It's that show
Oh
on
my
HBO,
gosh.
right?
Yeah, I won't talk about it. You got to watch it.
Is it good? Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do that.
I just watched it.
Is it
Bonkers, bro.
Is it entertaining?
It's it's sharp satire on a social setting. So it's
perfect.
a complete mirror of just like various levels of privilege across the world, and it's so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's got phenomenal actors in it. So.
It does. Yeah, I've got a crush on one of them. Dude, what else we
What's
got?
his name? Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
What else you got, buddy?
Well, I have one more thing that
Okay.
it's kind of been brewing in the news, and I feel like the government is kind of easing us into this whole thing about aliens
Okay.
Oh,
and UFO sightings.
Right.
yeah.
And I'm on TikTok a lot, and I see a lot of like UFO sighting videos happening
Yeah.
more and more. Do you feel like there's actually aliens out there, or are these created by the government, and this is just kind of their way of like easing it out?
The question of questions.
I fully think. I mean, we just talked about foundation. I fully believe aliens are out there. There's no way we're the only planet that's got livable, breathable, sentient, conscious beings on it.
Yeah.
I like Joe Rogan's viewpoint on this. I adopted it as my own. He says we're so fucking stupid that aliens don't want to come. They're like, we don't want to deal with these retards. Like, look what they're doing. They can't even get along.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
And that's like they're looking. It's like the aliens are out there looking at us like we're an ant farm. Like, look at what these guys are doing.
I have thought deeply about this question.
let's hear it.
I really had to ask myself. And I'm a believer in God. I'm a believer in intelligent design. I don't believe in the accidental
all
beauty.
math, baby.
It's like imagine imagine just like the watch you're wearing on your wrist.
Okay.
That got there because it just exploded out of that couch.
Yeah, it never happened.
Right? It's
was
like,
by
come
design,
on, by design,
deliberate,
intelligent, beautiful design. So, knowing that come from, I was like, you know what? When I look at reality, I look at the beautiful integrity of this place, the integrity of the universe. Like this table is a table whether you and I are evil or good. And so when I think about aliens, I'm like, I had to take a step back and first of all be like, do I believe these aliens are evil and all these things? I'm like, regardless, these aliens still have to rely on the integrity of this reality. Whatever technology that these aliens could be using still relies on the integrity of this reality for it to work.
Sure.
And the integrity of this reality is rooted to me in the love of order. And love of order only comes from light, and light is good. And so I'm like, man, aliens, yeah. You know, Naval, who's someone I've brought up before, he talks extensively about the possibility of it and how, you know, radio waves and light waves would get here a lot sooner than they would. And some people say we're just so far away that it's possible that these aliens don't have the ability to travel faster than the speed of light, because some of the most inhabitable spots are still at a speed of light. It's still 1 million light years away.
Right.
And so there's like, logistically, they're probably out there. But getting here is not the easiest thing. And if they were to get here, would it be worth it? They'd probably be here for knowledge and technology over our resources, because if they could go anywhere, they'd probably go to places that are much more rich in a specific resource. And so there's these scientists I've been like listening to about aliens where they're less cinematic about it, they're more pragmatic.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, bro, I believe that from a place of love, aliens exist. I don't believe that it's in the form of what we've seen. And I also believe that it's from a good place, and they're probably people like us.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it's a lot of us, and it could be the government who has made contact. But I'm not afraid of it. You know, I'm a kind of a conspiracy theorist where I believe in intentional control and tyranny. But I'm not at the same time a believer that this whole thing's some evil simulation, or like we're just controlled by reptilian lizards. If that was the case, then this world would not be as beautiful as it is. That's my opinion.
Sounds like something that somebody would say that's a reptile himself, so I'll take that with a grain of salt there. Hollywood boy.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, if I'm a reptilian, I don't know. And if I am, and if I find out one day, I'm like, wow, now that is that's a twist.
Well, I think I agree.
What's your thoughts?
I absolutely believe. When I hear the word alien, I just think of other.
Yeah.
Other. And there's 100% there's other out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so whether or not we have come in contact with him and don't know, which we're being told we have, you know, it was released during the pandemic that, you know, there's been contact, and
Yeah.
I'm more curious, like, well, what is it? Like, because the answer would seem to be an enlightening one, but I think that there is also a mode of control the government is trying to, you know, keep us from freaking out.
Yeah.
And
Well, because power is the priority, and that would dismantle some of the faith in that.
oh, dude, like, imagine the effect that actual proof of other beings in other galaxies and planets would do to just our stories of religion here.
Exactly. Really changes. And look, and a lot of religion is rooted in, have you heard of pre-flood civilization?
Like before Noah?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of civilizations around here that all have accounts of flood that weren't connected. Okay. And so they have and it dates back 25,000, 50,000 years, where the history of humanity is actually looked at a lot. It's been a lot longer, been around than the biblical narrative of like 6,000 years. And so, but that's a whole other podcast. We won't go there.
Okay. Well, we'll save that then when you come back.
I mean, let me do some more research. I'll come fucking prepared.
Okay. Well, dude, I'll come too, and we'll have a chat about aliens and pre-flood civilization, and
yeah, it's beautiful.
There's got to be some sort of explanation there. I remember hearing that as an example.
Yeah. Okay.
That the story of Christmas and Saint Nicholas.
Yeah.
The whole fairy tale of this guy going around and trees and all that was the result of psychedelic use.
Yeah.
Out of Russia.
I've heard the same thing.
That it was, and that mushrooms were grown underneath evergreen trees in that environment. And
yeah.
They caused you to be more giving and.
Yeah, if you look at
all goes back to the drugs, baby.
It all goes back to these plants.
Yeah.
And if you study the Christmas, there's a whole. If you look at the biology of how the brain and the spine and the pineal and the certain amygdala, the certain ways that these work, it's actually completely in alignment with the whole story of Christmas. And so original thought was Christmas was a artistic expression of what happened inside of the human when they were experiencing intelligence.
That seems more pure than the commercialization of it that's happened.
Well, the commercialization of anything is not the most pure thing.
It's a problem. Yeah.
Well, okay, what was your question, by the way, bro?
Yeah, I just have one question. Who's been the most influential person in your life, whether that's before getting into music or film or someone that you've worked with?
Yeah, the most influential person has been a guy by the name of Garrett White. He was my original mentor. And the only reason is because he was in my life the longest. And he was a true mentor. He found me when I was 24. I was creative, I was talented, but he really saw into me and cultivated and brought out the best of me for over a long period of time. He's had the most influence on me, and to this day we're friends, brothers. He's a mentor. Sometimes I mentor him. And the seasons of mentors, I think, man, because I can think about other popular names. I love looking at multidisciplinary creatives, guys like Justin Timberlake, who he's a singer, he's a dancer, he's also a man, a father, a husband, a businessman, an investor, a golfer. I love seeing multidisciplinary people. Those are the people I learn from the very most because they're fully dynamic. And those guys are the guys I feel like are the most free. The billionaire afraid of the bouncy house is the way that I put it, where I'm like, man, cool, great. I love that you were competent in this other area, but you're afraid of the dance floor, man? Or like vice versa. I'm like, oh, the ballerina afraid of a sales call. I'm like, come on, man. Be multidisciplinary. There's a local guy named Justin Lutgrote, runs a venture capital company, and I worked for him back when I was 19, 20. And he came up with this thing. He's like, listen, Jer, regardless of what you do, you have to become a full stack entrepreneur. Gone are the days of being super specialized and being blind about other areas of entrepreneurship. You need to be a full stack entrepreneur. And it made me creative. It made me a technical CEO instead of a bang on my chest leadership CEO, which it made me creative. I was like, I'll go learn design. I'll go learn copywriting. I'll learn video creation. I am a leader and a founder. And now the most valuable thing I can do with myself these days is think, make decisions, and lead. Those are like the highest leverage thing. You know, make decisions with resources, with people, creatively. Like the more you grow up in leadership, the less you use. You're in the weeds. You're just in the weeds with your mind. But getting there, I value now. I can talk to developers. I can talk to designers. I can talk to marketers. I can talk shop across all of it. So that was what inspired like getting with Garrett or seeing guys like these celebrities who are multidisciplinary leader creatives.
I love that. I seek to be one of those. That's why I do comedy.
Total, dude. Yeah. Exactly. You are one. That's the thing. You are one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. When you can be competent in a few ways, real freedom starts to occur and fun. Like
when you see the overlap that like the development of skill translates into multiple areas if you let it.
Yeah.
It's like when I learned how to be a public speaker and then I got into stand-up comedy, 80% of the stuff translated.
Yeah.
I had to unlearn 20% of the stuff because it was fucking up my stand-up.
I bet.
But now knowing the difference, it's like a gear. If I'm over here, I can do this. If I'm over here, I got to switch into this other way. But I think for me, the question, I felt the twinge of jealousy when I heard you talk about Garrett because I don't have like an individual like that in my life that is like a touch mentor, meaning like he's right there. I could touch him, you know?
Yeah.
There's been many authors that I think that I've gotten the most out of two different authors where I've really dived into their work and embodied it and learned it and then live it. And those authors are T. Harv Eker. He wrote the book Secrets of the Millionaire
I saw him
Mind.
live at some events
He's
growing
a
up.
very dynamic speaker, really great guy.
Really charismatic,
Awesome
likable
on
guy.
stage. Yeah. And his book and his seminars and everything, like it was the perfect time in my life where I needed that adjustment of mindset. I needed to understand things like the law of attraction.
Yeah.
I needed to understand that my beliefs were the limiting factor, nothing else.
Yeah.
And then the second one is Neil Donald Walsh.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote the series of books called Conversations with God.
Yeah.
I believe there's 5 in that series. There might be more by now. But as somebody that grew up religious, I had a really warped understanding of God and the blending of mercy and justice and how it works. And when I got divorced from my first wife, I got excommunicated from the church.
Wow.
And that really threw
lot
my
of
spirituality into a kind of a funk.
Yeah.
Because this God that I had been looking at as the one that approves of me, the one that loves me, the one that blesses me, was turning away from me via his church, which is how I believed it. But yet I still had moments of peace and moments of love, and I stumbled across this book, and I had as many spiritual experiences as I had reading that book in the temple, on my mission, other spiritual environments. Like it really allowed me to feel God touching me.
Wow.
Like, okay, this is okay, and it reframed for me like who I actually believe in as God.
Yeah.
And that has been really transformational in who I become and who I'm continuing to become.
The blessing of, as you say that, the more I experience year after year, the more God becomes undefined and yet refined. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So when you talk about that, it's like feeling the grace and understanding that, and that Neil Donald Walsh's stuff is really good. I haven't read all of it, but I've read some of it, and it's just a graceful lens.
Yeah.
Really
to have
beautiful
the
lens.
idea, the premise of his books are a conversation with God. It's written like a screenplay, like God's talking, he's talking, God's talking. And to look at it in such a definitive way of like, to believe in some way that this is actual God's communication to me was empowering.
Yeah.
Because in religion, you're just told to guess. It's in the scriptures, like, oh, no, fourth. It just doesn't, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. There's too much.
Therefore,
Yeah.
hitherto 4, 7, 4.
Thou hast verily.
And verily I say unto you, and it came to pass.
Right.
A lot of it came to passes.
Yeah, there's a lot of passing. A lot of coming and passing, you know what I mean?
Plenty
Of coming and
Plenty
passing.
of knowing.
Yeah, all that. But
That's
and
beautiful
so
you
it gave
mentioned
me
that.
something that, and I realized through that experience too that the thing that Neil Donald Walsh did to write that book, the communion with God, where he spoke and then God answered, and he was in this meditative place and he was writing these things, is accessible to anybody. I have moments in my journal where I chose to write that, where I would be in a thing where I'd feel this chaos inside me, and I would type out a question and then I would sit. and I would let the chaos dissipate, and I would write the answer in the form of God's words back to me, and it was always beautiful. It still is.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
I love what Jesus says. You know, his first words in ministry was, you know, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near. And the mention of the kingdom in the New Testament is like 100 and something times, whereas being reborn is mentioned once. And people are like, I'm a born again. Like, yeah, but are you a kingdom? Like, do you know that the whole Bible, New Testament, Christ's whole thing is about the kingdom of heaven and how it's supposed to come back to this kingdom and how the kingdom of heaven is within. And I became obsessed with the kingdom of heaven. I was like, what is this kingdom of heaven that Christ is talking about? And that, what you just talked about, when we are present and we allow our awareness to be with the kingdom that is within, the wisdom and the clarity and the insight just comes out.
Yep.
And so conversations with God, or
bringing that full circle, it takes away the confusion.
Yeah,
So it removes evil.
It does. Yeah, just the acknowledgement of the kingdom within you.
Yeah. Well, dude, we've how long have we gone, bro?
Hour 40.
Hey, did I answer your question? Oh yeah, I did answer your question.
Yes,
yeah,
thank
cool.
you.
So, dude, Jeremy, thank you so much for finally coming to the show.
Great time, man.
Yeah.
What conversations, far-reaching.
So fun.
The spectrum was wide.
I felt like you're the type of friend where like we could, we head up to the, the special place
White
we
Pipes.
got, White Pipes.
Yep.
Smoke a cigar, chat deeply.
Yeah.
Leave with smiles on our face and hearts full.
Exactly.
And I feel that way now. I appreciate your energy and your presence here. This has been fun.
Thank you.
Where can people go to find you?
So go to jeremyfinlay.com. Finlay is how my name is spelled. And you can find me on Instagram, obviously, and Twitter and all those places. Go to jeremyfinlay.com. I'm launching a meditation and focus app and a streaming service for entrepreneurs called Quantium.
Okay.
You'll find that if anyone's interested in wanting to like understand what I'm about or see I've got 80 documentaries I've put out that are on that platform. I've got all sorts of fun stuff. If you want to understand like what I've done over the years, then you can go there.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure I get the proper writing of that so we can put it in the show notes.
You've got a deal, my friend.
Friends, thank you once again for listening and viewing Stand Up. You know the drill. If you enjoyed this, share it, tag us in anything you do on social. If you're willing to leave us a 5-star rating, review, follow on YouTube, all the stuff. I got a ton of asks. Just
do the things.
Do
man.
the things. All right, anyway, that's all we got.